I'm Trevor Turner. Once lost, now living on purpose. I know what it's like to feel locked out of your own potential. This show is for the ones who are ready to take their power back and write a new story 1 hour at a time. You can do it. You can do anything, and you don't need permission. That's why I started the free hour, to give people the space to change their story, to remind them you are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not done, you are powerful. You can find freedom, you can find yourself, and you decide what happens next.
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the free hour. It's your boy Trevor Turner. We're back with another video. We are back with another episode in our free hour ABCs, the ABCs of Tree. And this is productivity, where we align our time, habits, and energy with the life that we are actually trying to build, with the life that we're actually trying to create. And today we're going to be talking about Keystone Habits. What if productivity isn't doing more, but about doing important, central things that change everything else for us? See, I remember when I was first trying to, change my life, right? And I wasn't worried about so much about where I was trying to go. I was just worried about the things I didn't want anymore. And I think a lot of us too, when we are first trying to change, when we are first trying to create something new, we just tend to try to avoid all the stuff that we don't want. I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to get that big again. I don't want to get that unhealthy again. I don't want these types of relationships. I don't want these types of jobs. I don't want to be in these types of situations. What happens is that allows us to be distracted. It allows us to get too scattered. It puts us in a position where we don't have direction. We are spending our energy on everything that could potentially keep us out of these situations that we didn't want in the first place, right? And there's a lot of different things. For me, there are a lot of different ways that I can avoid going back to jail, right? It's easy, it's simple. But if I want to thrive instead of just survive, I have to chase after something central. I have to chase after something that's key. And one of the things that happened for me was discovering keystone habits that changed and radiated out from the center of my life and affected everything else that I was doing, that changed everything else for the better. It was something like, I can give you an example of gratitude. Gratitude is when I started to be able to put a lot of the different things that I was learning into practice. I was looking at perspectives and paradigms and subconscious mind. And I was looking at trying to, build something with my, manifesting and all of that stuff, build something in my mind to help me to change my habits and change my life, right? And change the outer using everything on the inside, right? Because you have to change yourself to get different results. Like gratitude for me was a keystone habit. Practicing gratitude allowed me to change everything else in my life. All these different tools, all of these different strategies, all of these different things that I had learned about and I was trying to figure out how to put in my life the best way for me. A keystone habit for me was gratitude. A keystone habit for me was the free hour. A keystone habit for me was planning, studying, routines. It made everything feel possible again. All of these different things that I was looking at, that I was studying about, that I was seeing all of these, great people that I wanted to try and emulate. And they were doing all of these different things and it just felt so overwhelming. It felt like I was biting off too much, more than I could chew. It felt like I was looking at of course that person is going to be able to do all of these things. That person lived a life that didn't look like mine. That person lived in an area that didn't look like mine. That person lived around people that didn't look like the people I lived around. And I just got to the point where these keystone habits helped me to start looking at all of these different things and say, why not me? Why not me? A keystone habit is the habit that makes other habits easier, that makes other habits more efficient. Productivity starts here. Not all habits are equal. Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit, he said that Keystone Habits create ripple effects across behavior. They change what we do, they change identity. They change structure. They change decision making. They are the ones that change how we interact with the world, how we show up in the world. They're not just the ones that we are able to say, hey, I started doing this. I added this to my repertoire. I added this to my day, and they don't affect everything else. They aren't the little habits. They are the big, key, major player habits like daily planning, physical movement, sleep scheduling, things like the free hour. You don't need 10 habits. You need one that reorganizes your life. Keystone habits don't add pressure, they remove friction. One of the things that we've been talking about lately is we've been talking about sleep. We've been talking about how getting enough sleep. We've been talking about how having a healthy sleep schedule is a foundational thing for a lot of different people when it comes to not only being productive, but when it comes to things like emotional health, when it comes to things like mental health, when it comes to things like physical health, simply getting an extra hour of sleep from most people will drastically change how you approach everything else, how you are able to interact with everything else. Like, yes, you could have a regular exercise regimen now. Getting that extra hour of sleep will affect that exercise regimen. You could have a job where you're showing up to work every day, where you're putting your skill set on display every day. Getting that extra hour of sleep will change how you show up at that job. You could be in a relationship now that could be on the rocks. You could be in a relationship now where you don't know how to deal with that other person. You could be in a relationship now where you're confused by everything that they do. You could be in a relationship now where everything just feels sluggish and difficult. And every time you're trying to do something for them, it feels like you're moving through molasses. Literally an extra hour of sleep will help how you deal with the mood swings, will help how you deal with the feelings, will help how you deal with everything that comes into your life. There are a lot of different keystone habits that we can tap into. And I know for me, it was the free hour. I know for me, it was when I was going through that 23 hours a day of lockdown. And I changed what I did in my free hour that radiated throughout the other 23. It changed the conversations that me and my cellmate had. It changed the thought processes that I had when I was stuck behind that door. It changed what I wanted to dive into when I was trying to read. It changed what I wanted to dive into when I was trying to look out that window and watch TV. It changed what I talked about when I talked to my family on the phone. That 1 hour and what I did in it changed literally everything about the inside of my life, right? Like, it wasn't enough to fully change, my environment and my circumstances, but it was enough to change how I felt about everything that was going on. It was enough to change my perspective. It was enough to help me start to plan my comeback. Because I knew eventually I was going to come back. I knew eventually I was going to hit the streets. And I knew eventually that there was going to come a time, there were going to come moments, not just one moment, but series of moments. And they happen every single day where I can make a choice. I'm going to go through things where I can make choices. I had to make a choice today. And the choice is, do I go back towards this? Do I go forwards towards that? Or do I go aimless, right? And because of the things that I do in my free hour, because of the things that I do in my free time, I know the concept of the free hour, it really it says that, hey, look, I know that as adults, especially in this world we live in today, we don't have time. But if you change what you do in the time that you do have, you can literally change your life. You can change the way that you interact with people. You can change the way that you view yourself. You can change the way that you've been breaking promise and after promise to yourself. You can change those things. You can change these other habits with these keystone habits. So let's ask this, right? Why do so many different productivity systems fall apart after 2 weeks? One, because they rely on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation comes and goes. Motivation is like the seasons, right? January, you got motivation. New Year's resolutions. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my ethic. By February, you have to understand, February is a different season, not only on the outside, but it's in your life as well. If you are doing something that relies on motivation, that relies on you to feel like it, it's going to fail. They ignore emotional load and they don't fit real life. A lot of times what happens is that we dive into these things that ask us to commit 4, 5, 6 hours, 8 to 10 hours a week, right? And if you're somebody who, like me, I have that amount of time. Because, at certain times in my life, I have that amount of time. So right now, I'm not in school. So right now, I'm not doing my classes. I don't have homework to do. I have time after work, right? I have time to be in the gym for 2 hours a day after work, 3 days a week. I have time to be doing all of my stuff on the days that I work later. I have time to be doing that stuff. I have about, 10, 20 hours or whatever outside of work every single week that I can devote to something that isn't just weekend time, right? But I think for a lot of people, that's just not reality. A lot of people, our workload does not change throughout the year to where we're able to find some type of reprieve, to where we're able to fit these programs in. We might have an hour a day, 2 hours a day, where we can fit something new into our lives, where we can fit a new Keystone habit into our lives. We might have a 30 minutes here or there at work, to where we can kind of give leeway with how we approach the day. A lot of us are working in systems that we didn't design to where we have to follow what they tell us that they want us to be doing. I think that was one of the things for me when I got this different job, because I had a job to where I was able to dictate how I wanted to spend the day. I had leeway, right? I was able to schedule my day to be the most productive that I wanted to be. Now I'm working in a different type of job where I don't have that leeway, to where I'm not able to dictate how the system works. So that eliminates all this extra free time and all of this extra time in between tasks at work to do things that help me build my own personal skill set, right? I have to work within that system. And that is something that happens for so many different people. You don't have the time to use the extra time at work, right? You only have time outside of work. So after the commute, after the kids, after cooking, after folding clothes, after doing all of these things, you have an hour. You don't have the hours that a lot of these different systems are asking you to really actually commit. They might try to guilt you into trying to find it, but you're really taking out of your own personal time. A lot of them will call you lazy. They will say you're not disciplined. They will say you have no motivation when you really don't actually have that time. But you have an hour. And then also, one of the things that happens is decision fatigue. Baumeister, he talks about decision fatigue. Too many choices drain willpower. And Keystone habits are the ones that reduce decision making. They reduce decision time. It's about knowing what you're going to do when that hour hits. When your clock goes off or your timer goes off or your alarm clock goes off, or you look over and you see it's 4 minutes until the hour, you don't have to say, okay, what am I going to do today to try and add to my life? What am I going to do today to try and make myself better? Or what am I going to do, or at what time am I going to wake up if I'm trying to wake up earlier? Or what am I going to wear in the morning? So you cut into your morning routine. Or what shoes am I going to wear today? What clothes am I going to wear today? Keystone habits reduce decision making, and they put the other things that we've been doing on autopilot. Structure is what saves me when motivation is not available. I'm somebody who suffers from depression. I got depression. They say I got like ADD or ADHD, whatever. I don't know about all that. I've never been diagnosed. But my thing about it is this. I am the type of person who lacks motivation almost constantly. I'm a very low energy person. Trying to find the energy to do something new is, for me, After 2 weeks, it's impossible. You know, when I was trying to write, it's something that happened when I was trying to write. When I was in the county jail, you know, I was able to pull out my notepad. And I was, you know what, I'm gonna write. And my bunkie was there, like, yeah, man, do that, man. You know, you read these stories really good. I feel like if you wrote a book and you read the story and you read it out loud, like that would be dope. Like you would be able to be an awesome storyteller. So I started writing, man. I had motivation. For 14 solid days, I had hella motivation. I was sitting there writing. I'm writing page after page after page after page. And after 14 days, I had about, 100 pages handwritten. And I was like, man, I'm doing really good. But then my mind hit again. The realization that I'm in the situation that I'm in hit again. Lack hit again. And I know for a lot of us out on the outside, it's like, we're like the gym. We'll be in the gym and we'll be feeling good in the gym. And then we'll remember everything we've lost over the year. We'll look in our bank account and we'll be like, damn, man, like, fuck. Like, it's another bill that I can't afford. Or it's this that's going wrong, or it's that that's going wrong. And there are certain things that we can do and we will do automatically to help us reduce our stress. But if we are in a position to where we need that fire lit under us, I'm just saying, there are so many different things that are going to come and try to put that fire out on a daily basis. You might remember that breakup that hit you hard. You might remember some dumb shit that you did, an opportunity that you wasted. You might remember the fact that you haven't been working the way you've been wanting to work. You might check your bank account and be like, damn, man, I'm not where I want to be. You might be thinking about that job opportunity that you really wished you could have been qualified for. You might have been thinking about like, damn, why didn't I go back to school? Why didn't I get the trade? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And you'll be just like, man, like all of this that I'm trying to do now is some bullshit. Like it's a waste of time. It's worthless, right? Your motivation will swamp itself. Structure is what helped me when motivation was not available. Because for me, motivation is rarely available. I don't get motivation to do these videos. I don't get, outward validation to do these videos. I don't get nobody telling me like, hey, you should do these videos, like whether it be monetary or people coming to talk to me, whatever. There's a lot of times I don't get that. I don't get the inner motivation, the fire, like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do these videos and all this other stuff. I get that sometimes. But for the most part, it's structure. For the most part, it's like, okay, this weekend is the weekend that you record. These other days are the days that you edit. These other days are the days that you do this and the days that you do that. So it's like even today when I'm trying to just kind of rest and relax, and I have all this stuff going on in my life, all these things popping up on my phone, trying to knock me off of my motivation and my mindset to even be able to do it. Structure is what makes me get up and do it anyway. Let me ask you this. What's one area where your life feels harder than you feel like it should be? What's one area of your life where it feels harder than it needs to be? What's one area of your life where you just it feels like you're moving through molasses when you're trying to get up and go do something? When you're trying to get up and you're trying to go do something that you know you should be doing, but it feels like you are moving through molasses. It feels like your body just is weighed down. So let me say this too. The right Keystone habit does not depend on the season that you're in. The right Keystone habit does not depend on the season that you are in. Because look, they simplify your day, they repeat easily, and they align with your values. So I'll give you an example of Keystone habits that do not vary by season. Things like sleep, things like sobriety, things like routine, things like free hour, things like study, things like creation. Things like delegation, planning, boundaries. Productivity starts with honesty. It starts with honesty and not ambition. It starts with realizing that no matter what season you are in, there are things that you need to implement in your life. First, foundational things. Foundational things that you can see that will help you deal with everything else. Because if you're getting enough sleep, That will lead to easier sobriety. That will lead to easier routine. If you're doing things like the free hour, or if you're managing the things that you do in the free hours of your day, that leads to better study, that leads to better creation. If you are doing things like delegation, that leads to better planning. It leads to better boundaries. Productivity starts with honesty about where you're at now, not about ambition, not about where you think you need to be, and it does not depend on the season that you are in. So let's talk about how Keystone Habits compound. Darren Hardy, the compound effect. Small, consistent actions create exponential results. The free hour for me multiplied into discipline, confidence, and purpose. Because I took that very small window of time to implement things into my life that had exponential results over time. Like, yeah, working out for 15 to 30 minutes a day didn't do much at the time, but it started the habit of me working out. It started the habit of me getting in shape when my body was in some of the worst shape that it's ever been in my entire life. I could barely move. Doing 20 push-ups straight had me sore for a week. Doing burpees was damn near impossible. I couldn't breathe. Running around the track had everything from my hips down on fire for days, to the point where I thought I needed physical therapy. So implementing that 15 to 30 minutes to where I could push through, no matter how I felt, no matter what was going on with my body, no matter what was going on during the day, doing it during that free hour at the beginning, it implemented that into my life. And now I have it to where I'm able to go and I'm able to do, consistent, planned, and intentional workouts without worrying about how my joints feel, without worrying about how my body feels. Like, yes, I get the soreness. Yes, I get the tiredness. Yes, I get the stiffness. But I'm able to do the things that I need to do to actually start to see the results in my body. Things like confidence. Because if you start your day with something with accomplishment, right? If you start your day with even the most minor of accomplishments. There was a video going around of an admiral. He was giving a keynote speech, I think, to a naval academy or something. And he said that the first thing you should do when you wake up is to make your bed. And the reason for this is because it wires your brain into a win at the beginning of every single day. You've got up and you've done something. You've accomplished something. You've fulfilled a goal. You've fulfilled a purpose. And then obviously the free hour helped me to shape my own life. I know a lot of times when we look at purpose, right? We look at this thing that we think should come from the outside. And in a way it does, right? Because if you believe in God, I believe in God, I believe in God, I believe in the universe, I believe in all of that stuff. I believe that I'm a created being, right? I believe that I'm a being that is influenced by the energies of the universe and energies of God and all of that stuff, right? So I have God-given talents. I have God-given skills. I have God-given things about me that make me unique from every other person on this planet, right? Like, not super unique. Like, obviously there are other people that can do what I do, but no one can do it in the way that I can do it. Just like no one can do what you do in the way that you do it. It's not about finding it though. It's about deciding what it is, more or less, right? It's about finding something that fits into the criteria of purpose for your life. For me, and we talk about things like when I on myself transformative habits videos and stuff, we talk about things like seeking knowledge. We talk about things like knowing yourself. We talk about things like trusting yourself. We talk about things like digging into who you are, doing real self-assessments on the things that you're good at, the things that you love doing, the things that you can get lost into, the things that give you fulfillment, right? The things that you can do without that motivation. The things that you can do and just jump up and do when it's that time, right? Like for me, there are days when going to the gym still feels like I'm moving through molasses. When I look at the time, like I come home, I put the clothes in the gym bag and I got to go, because if I change into my gym clothes before I try to leave for the gym, there will be times when I won't make it. I'll make it 30 minutes late, or I won't make it at all. Sometimes I got to put my clothes in the bag in the back seat. So that way, when I'm coming home from work, I don't even come home first. I go straight to the gym, because if I don't feel the motivation, even though I have the discipline to do it, it's hard. It's hard. But there are things that I don't need that discipline. There are things that I don't need that. There are things that where when it's time to set up, like, and this stuff is one of those examples. Like, yeah, it requires a structure, and I don't have the motivation to do it. But when I know it's my time, like, yeah, this is my weekend that I record. I'm just setting my stuff up. I'm doing it easily, right? It's about finding purpose, as opposed picking your purpose, as opposed to trying to find it. Knowing what purpose means, and we've talked about this before, like, it's not for you, it's for other people. It's something that affects the other people positively, affects the world in a positive way, but it's something that you do. It's something that you bring to the world, that you bring to other people. Let me ask you this, though. If 1 hour a day changed everything for me, what could it do for you? And when I say it changed everything for me, this is what I mean. I'm 40 years old. I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago. On December 6th, that's my birthday. I just turned 40. Between 39 and 40, I graduated from college. I never graduated from anything in my life before. I don't count an 8th grade as a graduation. I didn't graduate from high school. I got a GED. I never graduated from anything. I've never finished anything except a prison term or giving them back a parole number. By the time between 39 and 40, I graduated from college. I have a college degree. Between 39 and 40, I traveled internationally as an adult. Most people don't do that. A lot of people in the mindset that I used to have never even left their neighborhood. Not only have they never left the town that they're from, the city that they're from, there are people out there with the mindset that I have who've never left their street. That's something that you need to understand. That's something that you really need to realize. When I say that everything changed for me, everything changed for me. All my life, I wanted to be a gangster. That's all I ever wanted to be. All my life, I wanted to be that dude. I wanted to be that nigga. That's all I ever wanted to be. It changed everything for me. It changed who I wanted to become. It changed who I wanted to be. It changed who I am. It changed how I approach the world. It changed how I view the world. I used to have some very questionable morals. From the way that I was raised, from the people that were around me, from the things that I saw, from the things that I was taught. It's Winston Churchill that said, if you train a man in the mind, but not the morals, you create a menace to society. And yeah, I was trained in the mind. I wasn't trained in the morals. These last few years, I trained myself in morals. When I say that this 1 hour a day literally changed everything for me, I mean everything. What if 1 hour a day? 1 hour. And I want you to think about that, because that's kind of the selling point, right? Because I'm a guinea pig for all of these things. And that's why I talk about all of the things that I've been able to do and able to accomplish, is because I started down here, below camera, and now I'm up here. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially. I feel like I am on the way to so much bigger and so much more. If you're already starting here, you're just kind of locked into some shit that you don't really like, that you're not really super comfortable with. Imagine how much further you'll go than I will. Imagine if you start younger. Imagine if you start sooner. Imagine if you're already on a road, you're further down the road than I am. Imagine how much it could do for you. So to sum it up, productivity is leverage. And Keystone Habits create momentum. One habit is greater than many goals. Choose one habit. Protect it for 30 days and let it reorganize your life. One habit like getting a better sleep schedule. One habit like the free hour. One habit like creating. One habit like journaling. One habit like seeking wisdom. One habit like trusting yourself. One habit like getting into the habit of routine. One habit like setting boundaries. Do less, but do what matters. All right? That's it. It's been your boy Tree, Trevor Turner. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know about the Keystone Habits that have helped shape your life, or the Keystone Habits that you want to try that will help shape your life. All right? Deuces.